Oh, yucky. Wild Man Willie here. Beautiful January morning in Eugene, Oregon. As you can see, it's quite zesty and cold out here, but the rain has stopped for a few days, which that's good. Folks, it has been the great deluge out here. We have had quite the lake. But getting to work and got one of my favorites here on deck. 2001 Toyota Camry. Very popular video of me doing the front struts on that. Also, the rear brakes on that got done by me previously. Today, we're out to do the rear of it. So, we've got complete strut assemblies by FCS for the rear. The brand I demand, lifetime warranty, always makes me happy. Don't be scared. I'd much rather have the FCS less expensive than some high quality brand name that's been sitting on the shelf since this car was new. That was 2+ decades ago. So we got those. Those are killer. Got new rear wheel bearings, which those should be relatively easy to install as my rear brakes are relatively new. Got new sway bar links for the rear by Suspensia. A less expensive brand, but just fine for sway bar links for the rears of cars, especially if they're older. Nothing wrong with them, especially for the price tag. Those are probably under $10 each, folks. Mevitech Supreme rear sway bar bushings. Why cheap out on that? It's like $1 more. They're better for sure. Front brakes today. We've got Bendix Priority 1 copper-free ceramic brake pads. Those always make me happy. They got the nice shims on the back. They got the hardware in the pack. Everything about them is decent. And again, that's about a $20 box of brake pads. And smooth and quiet. No comebacks on those. For rotors, went with my mid-grade, my Durago coated hat and edge. So a step up from a non-coated rotor, but not the full electrophoretic. Excellent price savings. And you know, folks, a lot of times I do things like this when shipping on the other unit makes it stupid. It's like, okay, this is excellent, this is just great, and you know, we'll end up $40-something less. Good deal. Wheel bearings, Mevitech Supreme and BTX are the same brand, so that's the same thing. Don't cheap out on your wheel bearings. Do some nice ones like that. Got a new battery for it, and I believe that's a VVT valve. We'll find out. That's later on in the project. Already taking the opportunity to get things ready here. Got the car parked in the bay. Got my wheel chock. Got my parking brake on. For this setup, already removed my wheel from the passenger side so you can see what's going on. So, up in here, some McPherson strut assembly, and you can see if it had a boot, it's gone. There ain't no suspension on the back of this. It just bounces. But what, 24 years later, who can complain, right? Especially when we can change it out. So that's got to go. There's a sway bar link there. Again, real visible. I'm just going to disconnect it from the sway bar itself. I'm going to leave it on the strut assembly for removal. We got a sway bar bushing set right there. Now, folks. Yep, you can see where I did these brakes. 5 of 24, always sign it so you know what the heck you did. So again, when I release the parking brake, I expect that drum to come off real nice and easy, and it should be a simple matter to get this hub unbolted. We'll find out if that's as easy as I think. Toyota made access to this one kind of interesting, okay? So your strut tower, as you can see here, you see where it runs up into the car, all right? And you can see how that's kind of like right here on the car. So in a lot of Toyota products, your strut heads are down here, something like this, something like here. Not on this one. If you pull this back, you'll see that tower runs straight up into the rear subframe. Yeah, the unibody structure of the car. So to get there, you have to take a few things loose in the interior. Now I removed my C-pillar covers for the interior. Just gently, just get your fingers underneath them and pop them loose. They got individual little poppers, and if you're gentle, maybe you won't destroy them all. If you do, head to Harbor Freight. You got this deck lid. This deck lid has several fasteners like this that poke through holes through the back deck of the trunk lid. And what you do to make short work of them guys, and it's the round ones, these square ones stay. They're like holding the wire harnesses down. You don't have to screw with them. But to get them out, I take a 7mm socket and put that on an extension. and just use that as a handy little plunger. Just stick that, make that to that end, and push. Plunk. Easy, no damage to fasteners, okay? So once you've popped that loose, if you try to pull on this, you'll crack the tabs. What you want to do is release your seatbelt grommets. I find that can be helpful. And then you see how these hooks are? So the remaining hooks are all hooked to the back up underneath the glass. And you pull forward on this. So once it's popped up and these are clear, do not lift and pry out. Again, do not lift and pry out. Pull forward. Pull towards the front of the car. And this will just slide off in your hands. And there's that. Now, once you've done that, you're still not going to see your strut heads. It's okay. This seatbelt mechanism mounts up top in that hole right there. A big 14mm bolt holds it in there. Take out the 14mm bolt and just idle it down to right there. Now you can see there's the top of my strut with its nuts up there. And that is recessed down in that hole. So there ain't a hell of a lot of access. So you're going to want to use a proper amount of extensions in the right depth. You're going to need a deep well for those guys. You want to make sure that you ratchet and be very careful of this freaking glass because you're up here in this corner. Rotating something's really easy to smack it. If you're afraid of it, put your floor mat, piece of cardboard, something up on that glass. So that goes over our next steps. I'm going to break loose these big bad bolts at the bottom. I'm going to break back loose these big bad bolts at the top. We're going to get that lowered out. So that's the battle plan. This is where we got started. Happy fun times all around. So far, not so hard. Just all I can tell you is, especially if it's cold like it is out here, and these cars, they're old now. These plastic pieces, Toyota engineered it well, but you be careful. Don't bust shit. If you pull on it too hard, you will. Anyhow, steps 1 through 10, there they are. We'll keep going. That was freaking exciting. I've managed to get the old strut out, and I got the new strut sitting beside it, the complete assembly. You can see I also went ahead and just hand installed my sway bar link on that, but yeah, look at the difference in them springs. Everything else is identical. I imagine what they've done is consolidated SKUs to make this fit more than one car, but I think this is going to pick the butt of the car up substantially is my initial thought, and yeah, it's going to firm it up. It's a nice beefy looking strut. I got no complaints. A little extra ride height on these old things isn't going to hurt anything. And it could be that Toyota just used a different kind of steel for their spring or XYZ. Could be identical. And it's going to fit in there just fine, and I'm excited. But let's talk about some troubles. So, 2001, the year is 2025. Believe it or not, folks, this is an antique / classic automobile, and we had some antique / classic automobile crap go wrong. First off, to get my little nuts out of the top, I use this here 12mm, and my extension has a crappy ball, so I wrap that in some plastic to make it hold. Works great. Stuck that on my 3/8 to quarter adapter. Why would I do all that? So I seem to be missing some things this morning, and I wanted a pretty exact height to go down in this pocket right here without having a bunch of risk of my wrench slamming into this glass. So that gave me like a zero clearance situation where that was no problem. Got those loose. Those are 12mm, or at least from the factory on the top of those. If they're factory, they'll be kind of gold colored. Now, down here at the bottom, it's 219s, relatively easy to deal with. Go at the nut end. Get it broke loose. I was able to do that with my short pull bar, and then put you a 19mm combination wrench on the back and ratchet it off the rest of the way. Make sure you have detached your brake hose retainer from your strut, because you do not want to damage this dingus hardline right here. Sway bar link disconnects from the bushing pretty easily. I just used that pair of pliers right there to grab the inside where the ball joint end is, to keep it still on the sacrificial sway bar link. They got little Allen heads in them, but when they're rusty and crusty from 20 years, why deal with it? Just pinch the bastard and spin it if it's not going back on. That's how we dealt with that. Just release this in so it would come out with that. Sway bar bracket is off. Now let's talk about what went wrong. So, sway bar bushing retaining bracket goes like that, hooks on Well, hook's on like that, so it's self-located, right? It's got two 12 millimeters. That one snapped off up in there. Now, don't panic, folks. Toyota actually made this where, as bad as my life is going to suck for the next hour or two dealing with that, probably could have been worse, because this piece that holds the sway bar bushing retaining bracket is actually a removable piece. Lives like that. Maybe it lives the other way around. It lives right here. So I am not in fact stuck trying to get that nut out with it upside down and backwards like this. I simply removed the big long bolt, and the nut that holds this bracket retains it from the unibody to the subframe hanger. You got plenty more, 3 more points of connection or more holding the subframe up there. It's not going anywhere to pull one at a time, so that's off. So I'm going to try to grab that with some pliers for the inside and turn it out. I may have to drill it out. We'll see what the hell I have to do. But in any event, at least it's free in my hand so I can work with it. Thank goodness. Otherwise, what a son of a bitch. And let's hope that none of the rest of them break off. To note, the rest of these bushings is wiggly and jiggly. You have seen me go over how to repair all that in previous videos. We may do in the future, but that is not on the docket today. So my next step is to rehab this where I can reinstall it back on the vehicle. Install my strut assembly, install my sway bar bushings. Everything gets cleaner the longer I'm under here. I took my brush and wiped out a lot of stalactites and stalagmites, but there's still some dust left. It doesn't have to be physically perfect, but I do want this area where the shine is, where my strut mounts, I don't want a bunch of nasty shit in between there and my bushing up top. So, going good. Run into a little problem here, but you know it happens. These are classic cars now. Expect the unexpected. We're going to deal with it. Here we go. Okay, I got that drilled out and I'm taking a quick ball break. Folks, what a basket of shit. That is pretty ugly. I'm sorry. Yes, it sure is. But it worked. Folks, I don't even have the right size drill bits, let alone a drill press, which would be recommended for a prettier result, but what are you going to do? It had to be bored out. So that's bored out. There is the remains of a captive nut up in there. I don't know if you can see that. I've damaged enough of one side of the captive nut that it's probably no longer usable, although it is a sway bar link bushing, so if it just magically tightens up in there, we might roll. Doubt it, though. What's going to end up happening is I'm going to have to use another bolt through that hole and clean this up with a file. And we'll put another nut on the back side and just run the bolt up through. Or I might put the bolt on this side if I can wiggle it through and use a Daba JB weld to make it kind of just secured. It doesn't need a billion foot-pounds of torque or anything like that. It's a little bitty bolt, but it does need to be secure. So thankfully this thing comes off as a hunk and doesn't have to be done on the car. That would suck. And yeah, I know that's ugly, folks, but shit, like I say, I do not have a drill press. I was just glad I had a drill bit that would cut through it, and we snapped it into bits trying to get it done. It's tough. All that. Alright, little guy. Little guy right there decided that it did not want to leave. Of course, I get 80% of the fastener drilled out, and I'm able to just twist out the remains. Imagine that. But anyway, yeah. Try not to butcher it that bad if you got to do it. But if you do, just remember, it'll be okay. Think about how the part works, what it's doing, what it's accomplishing. We'll be fine. Worst outcome of this, even if I hammed it up real bad, would be some noise back there. Not going to have that problem, though. I'm going to find a nut and a bolt combo that works well to pass through that hole and clean up that flange. It'll be freaking fine. It'll hold that sway bar bushing to the sway bar. Hell, it ain't that big around. But, let's enjoy a libation. Just goes to show, though, folks, these cars are antiques. Nothing else to say about it. It's a classic. It's 24 years old. So expect the unexpected. Expect piddly little bolts to break and snap off. Even on, I mean, you can see here, there's about as little corrosion as you could expect on one of these Camrys. I'm sure on the TRQ videos it's way worse, but just enough to piss it off. Alright, folks. Time to clean it up and get back out there. Yeah. Perseverance in action. I managed to solve that problem. I managed to drill that out. I managed to find another bolt that would thread into the original threads. Managed to find a nut that would fit on top to secure it more properly. The bolt I used has a little bit of a taper cone head on it, which was real nice for getting that nut seated. But yeah, folks, that's taken care of. Well, it's not the prettiest hole I ever made, but it'll do its damn job. Got top quality Ramcoa American bushing in there. I am very thankful that this bracket is a separate piece and not the car, and that I was able to take it off, because that made it possible to do what I did. But now we're back to the regularly scheduled repairs, so let's shuck a strut up in this thing like I was trying to do a couple hours ago and get this ball going. Let's make it happen, Captain. Beans that decided to quit fighting for a minute, and boy am I happy about that. So you can see I've initialed it WJ 1 of 25, one of the first new repairs this year. Got my brake line re-put, got my new sway bar link installed, got every nut and bolt marked where I left it. That's what I do here. I sign my work, I put my name on everything I do, and I got that all back together cheddar. So up top, my 12 millimeter bolts nuts turned into 13 millimeter nuts, which was a little more of an access problem, but nothing to it but to do it. Pay special care not to damage your glass. In any event, perfect opportunity to show that you run into crap, just keep working, you can take care of it, it's never the end of the world. But given how much more aggressive that spring looks, I know this is going to ride better. Now I got a wheel bearing to deal with. I'm not sure if I want to set this on the ground and do the other strut or get right on that. Before I do anything, I'm going to take a minute to regroup, have a snack, things like that, take care of myself for a moment. This one's not going to go out until tomorrow morning, it looks like. But in any event, that hold up got past it. We are past the impasse. Anyhow, alright, let me get some more stuff done. And let's finish up this damn Toyota. Get it rolling right. Folks, this one keeps trying to try me on and see what I'm all about. So, this car don't have ABS. This wheel hub assembly is made for a car that does have ABS. And folks, I didn't know if this would work out or not. The only way to find out is to try it or read some forums. But what I did was got my 3-jaw puller here. I removed my little cog. Because that little cog will not fit in that damn hole. But it does in fact appear that there is enough room for that wheel hub assembly to fit in there and for that bolt to just go in that hole and for everything to be happy. So let's see if it'll stick in there. We'll do this in real time. Should be tighter flange at the bottom if I'm correct. Looks like I got away with it, thank goodness. Okay, let me put some bolts in there and make sure it still turns and doesn't make a grinding noise or something where it was hitting that. But it looks like I've solved that as well. Welcome back to the Hillbilly Machine Shop. Yes, that fits in there just fine. It free spins just fine the way it should. With the bolts hand snug, you tighten them up the way they're supposed to be, and you can feel it drag. So, hand clearance with the bastard file, as I cannot find my die grinder pieces. Happy fun time. Good news is I don't need much. I can see that it's just that lip scraping right there. I can see the scar mark on the inside. Honestly, the problem would probably take care of itself within a few miles, but that's just not the way we play here. Is this an ideal way to go about it? Oh, hell no. But I don't need that much room. So, we're going to make it happen. We're going to get it done. I'm going to do this part inside though. I'm going to put some tape in there to keep the filings out and just get to sanding. And I'm just going to edge it. Yay! Anyway, prevail, make things work, make it happen. Antique cars, here we go. Happy fun time, folks. No, that axle snub did not properly clear the way it was supposed to. Barely. If you hand tighten the bolts, it was fine. If you put them down tight, it was not. You could feel it rubbing. And I opened it up and I saw a little scar in my paint. So I had to, can't find my die grinder stuff. Can't return this piece. It is perfectly functional. So I'd take it in the house with the bastard file and whittle away at the end of that snub. Again, I wasn't looking for much. It was just a paint scratcher here. But we got it. worked out just fine. And you know, I've had to do that before where I just remove the tone wheels on things, and usually you don't have to do anything else when that happens. In any event, look at that. Willie Jenkins, January of 25. Now I can put this brake drum back on there. I can put this wheel back on. I can double check my tightness. I can lower this side and see if the other side's going to fight me nearly as much. Folks, I can knock out these struts in as little as an hour apiece sometimes. Hell, not today. Not when it wants to play that way. But you know what? I've proven what do you do if things like that happen and you don't have specialized tools, you don't have a drill press, you don't have a die grinder, and you got a bastard file, you got some sandpaper. We shouldn't be having to hand fit parts. I mean, that one's just dumbassery. The correct part could have been ordered and there wouldn't have been an issue. That being said, hot damn folks, these cars are very much becoming antique and classic cars. They are not as easy to work on as they once were. This is not a corroded up unit. It's a pretty damn clean shape, as you can see. A lot of it, okay? You know, if you're in Ohio, all this would be eaten to hell. This is just dirty. Still being a little bit of a fighter. That being said, all that's together correctly. I'm going to stick on my drum. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's stick on the drum. In real time. Hell, my preload adjustment isn't bad. It's about right. Okay, folks, let's put the wheel on it and drop this one. We got this side done. Alright, after entirely too much fight for a rear strut on a Camry, we got a rear strut on a Camry, and a new sway bar link, and a new sway bar bushing, and a new wheel hub bearing assembly. Some of that required some custom fit. But as I suspected, yeah, that changed the ride height on this vehicle. She's definitely sitting up higher on this side than it is on the other side right now, which that's fine. It gives it the butt lift, you know. We pick up the butt from where it's been sitting and then give it just a little bit of extra. Yeah, so you can see the difference in ride height that's going to make. But thank goodness, hopefully that fight is over. What I got to do now is maneuver the car, move my tools out of the way so I can move the car all the way over to the truck, so I have room, hopefully not in the middle of the damn mud hole, to work on that. Super exciting, folks. And with a little luck, the other side won't give me the same kind of problems. If it does, I can tackle it. I figure I'll have to go ahead and sand that other wheel hub assembly too, but you know what? That didn't take but a second. We were just chewing off some paint. It's happy, it's good, it's gonna be good. In any event, folks, Camry time. Yay! Freaking eventually. Yep. Made a unit out of that again. Drilled it out real ugly. I mean, it was gross. No, this wasn't as bad this time. This is probably not the correct thread pitch of bolt, but it sure does fit in there like it's supposed to and thread into the original threads. And as before, I've got a nut on the back side, so between the two, it can't go anywhere. It'll hold that bushing just freaking fine. I might come up with another washer to put here. I was going to use this guy, but it appears that makes it hit the shoulder into the side of that. And I've had enough fighting cramp for the night. The simplest of repairs is one broken bolt away from an all-day repair. Never forget. Antiques, classics. These cars run forever. Yeah, forever already happened, folks. If you want it to run forever more, you got to get creative. I'll put the new bushing in that before I install it on the car. Anyhow, there's that. Time to clean this crap up and go to bed. I'm beat. Wow, we got just some beautiful light at the moment, and I wanted to take advantage of it for, you know, video production quality. So, time for an update. It is a drier day. The puddle is shrinking in the mud hole. You need four-wheel drive for it. That's okay. New strut assembly is installed. That thing's looking proud with its extra coil loops. We got our new sway bar link installed. Happy. We got our new sway bar bushing installed. Happy. And boy, I had to rework that. This one, on the other side, the rear bolt broke off. On this side, the front bolt broke off. So that was fun to deal with every step of the process. But yes, it can be done. Had some comments about drum brakes being a pain in the ass. No, they're not. Just learn to do them. You can be quite an important person by understanding how to service them quickly and effectively. I hung this set about 6 months ago. They're looking beautiful. That drum looks beautiful on the inside, and the outer coating still looks great. So, lovely day. What's up next is to replace this wheel hub assembly. You see you got a big hole here. You can rotate it around to reach your 4 bolts. With the other side, I had to modify my wheel hub assembly because what I got ain't exactly perfect. It will function properly once made to function properly. Anyway, hoping that maybe I'll just have clearance on this side. We'll see. I got the freaking file ready. But this is the problem side. Before you ask why I bother. Oh yeah. So, I'm not sure how noisy or not that is going down the road, because my ears really suck. And it sure does feel bad. I feel tinky in it. Bet y'all can just hear that. Yeah, so we're going to change that out. Here we go. Okay, folks, that was fun too. Yes, this wheel hub assembly did require clearancing on the backside as well to work. But it works just perfectly. I don't need much, just enough that I don't feel it rubbing when it's all the way tightened down. And again, folks, we were talking about the difference between finger tight fine, a little tighter than finger tight fine, take it to spec, and not fine. So I think what we're really eating on was paint inside the hub. In any event, I take off a little extra freaking metal for that. So we should be good to go there. Woohoo! Happy fun time. Yeah, no more terrible noises out of that. So now we can get the drive back on track. Just need to reinstall this brake drum, put the wheel on, and then do a brief road test of the vehicle. Then we're going to turn it around and go ahead and do the front brakes. Front brakes shouldn't be anything like the adventure, knock on steel, that this has been. And folks, it's not impossible. There's nothing here for me to cry about. I'm a mechanic. I do in fact have the skills and tools to deal with whatever this car could throw at me. I prefer when they'd pick one battle at a time, though. Anyhow, we got some more daylight left, about 2 hours. That should be enough time to take care of the rest of this beast. And then there's things to do tonight. So I'm excited and happy to say that things are coming together here. Let's get the drum on, let's get the wheel on, let's get the car on the ground, let's take a little test drive and see what we've made. You can tell I've been all over this car before. November of 2023 is when we did the struts, sway bar links, tie rod ends on this bad boy. Today, it's time for the brakes. Got my pads and rotors on there, looking great. Today we're using the semi-coated and the Bendix Priority 1 awesome ceramic. Took my time with the wheel to clean things up quite a bit. Beautiful brakes, beautiful brake job. You can see I got marks all over this thing where I've done work on this car, all over it. She's a thing of beauty. Anyway, let's keep working hard. I don't have that much sunlight left behind that cloud. I got one more brake set to do, and then I can call this a done project. Let's rock and frickin' roll. Folks, it's a beautiful sunset here under the shade tree, and it looks like I have beat the frickin' clock. Here we go. So, pads and rotors installed. This one made me reuse the old hardware that sucked. I think I would like to order a new hardware kit for it just because it's missing like a tab on the outside that holds the shit in place. It is in fact fine. It's got nowhere to go. I rehabbed it properly, but there was way too many make it fucking works on this car the entire way through. She's a good one, folks. I mean, I've done all this work on it. I've done a hell of a lot of beautiful work on the car. See that? See all that? All that niceness? So this is a nice ass car. It's just being challenging to service on some of the little stuff that hadn't been done in so long. All that being said, this is going to be a smooth and quiet brake job. You can see how much thinner them old pads were, and they were the old dust formula. We had brakes for a while there that were just made of dust, it seems like, with the formulation change. These will be much the hell better. So you can see everything is signed and dated. I've got kind of a crabby lug nut. It's fine. It's been a problem before, it looks like. I have marked it so that the lug nut that goes there goes back there. In any event, it's time for me to clean up the mess and go test drive this car real quick. I should be able to get that done. I still got to put all the interior back in. I still got a battery to do, but all that happens tomorrow before customer pickup. I'm also going to want to do what I call a sanity check, as this has been a exciting adventure trying to kick its ass. I want to make sure everything is as right as I think it is in the morning. And I can't put interior back together this gross. That being said, hell yeah, that's going to be a shitload better. I'm excited. Let's put the wheel back on and put the car back on the ground and take a little test cruise. Woo! Keep on at it, folks. You can do it. Folks, what an exciting adventure on this 2001 Camry. Woo! Glad we got that all done. So this is a beautiful, well-maintained car, and I've about worked myself out of work on it. Not completely. I do note there is an oil leak that needs to be dealt with. There's a few things. So folks, this one threw me a number of challenges on this repair. From rear wheel bearings that didn't want to fit properly because they weren't ordered exactly right. Rear sway bar link bushing shackle bolts snapping off on both sides. A lot of hand work had to go down on this one that just seemed a little egregious and hard to do. But you know what? Can be accomplished. We have persevered and the service has come out. Car rides and drives great. No noise from them wheel bearings. You can see how much higher she sits up now on the rear end, like she should. Tall and proud. That's a universalized strut assembly for all the different Camrys. I think there's more spring rate on that than what it came with. Yay. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Matches the front. Now, I'm going to do a sanity check on this. I still got to put the interior back together in the morning. I got to put a battery in it too. We have some oil leak on the driver's side, or the passenger side. I believe it's power steering leak and VVT solenoid. I lost sunlight. I hadn't done the VVT solenoid on it yet. Also, I have left over some sway bar link bushings for the front of this car. But I am not going in there until them have been soaked in penetrating oil for days and days and days and days and days. I will do that as part of another service and bolt tightness check on this bad boy. Same thing with the front brake pads. My new brake pads did not come with a complete set of hardware this time, which kind of sucked because the old hardware was crabby. We're missing an ear on it in one place, but I do not think it can move. I think it's going to be just fine, but we'll know. We're going to do a sanity check, let the customer drive the car for a while, come back in about a week. Want to bolt tight check all my bolts, and that's what I'm going to do anyway if I had to hand work and drill out bolts and sand down wheel hub assemblies and things like that. We're going to come back to it and check it after it's been down the road. All that being said, car doesn't feel terribly out of alignment, nice and smooth. All kinds of god-awful noises are gone. I still got a little bit of a chuggling noise from the back. I think that's related to my rear links. The bushings in them have somewhere. Also, I don't have my interior back together, so I might just be hearing cardboard and shit in the back rattle. Either way, this thing's ready for war. Look at the difference in that ride height from the original. That's incredible. I mean, she was sitting on the ground sad. Well, folks, I'm beat up. This job's done enough for tonight. I gotta go clean up my hell hole. I gotta go clean up my hellion. And then I got a little date night tonight, so we're gonna go have some fun. One more thing to go look at between here and there. But thank you for watching, everybody. Make sure to like and subscribe if you learned something. You see how it goes when the levee breaks. You do have some place to run. Grab your stuff, grab your gullet, and get it done. Give it a final update. Everything feels great. All systems go. Managed to get my interior panels back together in the vehicle. Managed to get my little caps back on the child safety restraints that hopefully will never be used in this thing. Seatbelt mechanisms back in, the back deck back in, a whole lot less noise. I do want to do a tightness recheck on this car after about a week, as just so many hokey things had to be done to make it happen, Captain, on this one. Further, not only the front positive battery terminal's no good, I've got that rigged to send as well. All things considered, though, it's a well-kept Camry. We're down to little nuisance issues that can be taken care of swiftly and efficiently on the vehicle. And I'm just going to have the customer drive it for about a week, bring it back to me, and we'll assess how she's acted. Again, if you have to go through those kind of measures, don't just do the job and expect it's done. Do it correctly, check it once, let them drive it, check it again, make sure none of that shit's coming loose. Easy to find out. just get it up in there. Anyhow, folks, it's a frosty, foggy morning out here. This one's all done, son. I'm going in the house to wait for customer pickup. Have fun out there.